It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Harper at third, Castellanos at first. 3-2, swing and a liner. Base hit down the right field line. Rolling towards the corner. Harper is in. Here comes Castellanos. He's on his way to the plate, and he's in. Stott into third, and the Phillies have the lead.
You know, it's a bunch of experienced guys. They've been through it before. I think they've got a slow heartbeat, and they understand situations, and they just keep battling. It's a very resilient club, and you can see the same thing with the Mets. They're not going to quit either. So this is shaping up to be a classic battle.
That was Rob Thompson, and, of course, the Stott triple. The Stott triple. It's another big hit for Stott in the playoffs. He hit the grand slam against the Marlins last year. Sports Bash Live, Mike Gill, Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad. And, of course, we're live at the Fanatics Sportsbook. Mike Mcgarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, was there yesterday. All right, Mike, give us the roller coaster of emotion. When's the moment that the game slips away from the Mets? Was there a moment that you're watching and you thought the Mets, they lost their opportunity right there?
It was in, I believe, the sixth inning when Bryce Harper hit the ball 431 feet off of the batter's eye in center field. Until that point, the Mets were in absolute control. The Phillies were dead in the water. That stadium was quiet. The fans were on edge. They were beginning to get a little nasty. The boos were starting to mount. But as I wrote today in my story at pressofac.com, in October, one swing of the bat can change the narrative, and Bryce Harper did it again with that blast in the sixth inning off the batter's eye in center field.
Well, he gets the home run, and then Castellanos follows it up to tie the game, but then the Mets get the Nimmo home run to kind of take the lead back. At that moment, did you feel that the Mets kind of recaptured that momentum?
Not really. At 4-3, one-run lead, to me is almost the same as a tie game. I knew both teams' bullpens were going to carry it the rest of the way. To be honest with you, I didn't have faith in either team's bullpen as the game progressed, and it eventually came down to almost who was the last team at the plate, and that was the Phillies, and they took advantage. So at 4-3, I did not feel good about the Mets' chances. I still felt like it was anybody's game, only because the bullpens, I figured were going to be shaky, and they were.
Mike, what's up, man? Good to talk to you. I guess, fellow writer here, right? And we love narratives and we love storylines. I guess my question is, after the way things played out yesterday, the Phillies get this huge win. Now we're all talking about Phillies having the momentum. Do you think the Mets care? Do you think the Mets care about the momentum element of it? Or do you kind of expect this team to be, given they're so battle-tested and they've been so resilient, do you just think that they let it roll right off of them and they're back at it game 3 and are going to continue to compete? Or do you feel like the Mets kind of blew their opportunity to win this series yesterday?
No, I don't think so at all. I think what the first thing you said, I think the Mets have been through so much, right, this season and in the past week. Atlanta, the game in Atlanta, the first game of the doubleheader last Monday. They're in the ninth inning down 2-0 against the Milwaukee Brewers, facing elimination on Thursday night. If you think about it, if you're looking at it from the Mets' perspective, you say, hey, we went to Philly. We got what we wanted. We got a split. The next 2 games are in Citi Field. We have our best pitcher going in Game 3 in Sean Manaea. And then in Game 4, the Phillies are throwing Ranger Suarez out there. And the Mets got to figure that they can probably hit Ranger a little bit. So if I'm the Mets, I'm feeling good about what they did in Philadelphia. And if I'm the Mets, I'm feeling good just to be home. The Mets haven't been home since that Sunday night game against the Phillies the weekend before the season ended. So I think they've been on the road like 15 straight days. They're back in Citi Field. Citi Field is going to be a raucous place tomorrow night. And if I'm the Mets, I like my chances with Sean on the mound. And the matchup on Thursday with Rangers, or on Wednesday with Ranger Suarez throwing for the Phillies.
Kind of curious what you thought about the Phillies bullpen. I mean, starters go 13 combined innings and give up two earned runs, and then I guess it was 12 combined innings, 2 earned runs, and then the relievers go 6 innings and give up 10 earned. obviously pretty uncharacteristic based on how good those two guys have been. And I'm talking about Strahm and Hoffman specifically. What do you think happened there? It looked like the Mets were just prepared for everything they were getting from Phillies relievers in the first two games. Luck? Are they just dialed in? Did they have something on them? What was the deal there?
Yeah, good. I mean, great question. I mean, JT Realmuto mentioned after yesterday's game that the Mets hitters seem to get better against the Phillies relievers, which is something you don't often see in baseball. You see a lot of those late inning relievers able to come in and shut down their opponents. Bob, to me, it's confounding because the Phillies relievers seem to be up on Mets hitters in every count, 0-2, 1-2, and they just can't put them away. The Mets are grinding these at-bats. I think Matt Strahm threw 17 pitches on Saturday.
He didn't throw a ball on Saturday.
He didn't throw a ball. So the dumbest question of all time is there a thing as throwing too many strikes? I mean, should these guys be throwing pitches off the plate at 0-2, 1-2, trying to get the Mets to chase? I just think they're throwing too many pitches over the heart of the plate or too many strikes, and the Mets are grinding out at bats and taking advantage. But it's a big problem for the Phillies. I think their bullpen ERA in this series is above 16. So that obviously is not going to sell. And it's not only, it's not like one guy struggling. It's Strahm, it's Hoffman, Kirkland gives it up. If you had told me before the series that their best bullpen guy would be Estevez, I would have told you were crazy. But he got through an inning and 8 pitches yesterday. So
yeah, Mike, what about that? What about the decision to go to Strahm in the ninth? Was Thompson asked about why Strahm in the ninth over Hoffman, or why not go back to Estevez in the ninth? Why Strahm yesterday?
Well, I mean, nobody really kind of asked that after the game because you got so much stuff going on after the game. But you make a great point in thinking about it today. I thought two decisions were peculiar. Ruiz in the sixth inning for me was a little peculiar there. I mean, I just think there's too big a spot for him. I know he pitched well during the regular season, but this is the playoffs, and you're down in that inning, and you're going to Ruiz there. I don't know about that move right there. And then, you could have brought back Estevez after he only threw 8 pitches in the 8th inning. A little surprised he didn't come back out for the 9th. With the way he threw in the 8th inning there and the way Strahm and Hoffman had thrown the day before. So, some questions there. That's also the great thing about playoff baseball. Rob Thompson, until about Bryce Harper hit a home run, was having a bit of a rough day yesterday, basically. But again, in October, one swing can change everything, and that's what happened yesterday.
You and I have had a lot of conversations over the past couple of years down at the stadium, and I think I've articulated my stance that I'm not the number one Alec Boehm fan. I think there's a lot of deficiencies in his game, and I respect the numbers, and he's an above-average major league hitter, but I think there's a lot of flaws there. I'm sure that you were surprised.
Are you taking a shot at me?
Mike and I just disagree on this one a little bit. But, look, I mean, I think everybody was surprised that he wasn't in the lineup yesterday. I think the idea that it was Edmundo Sosa in his place to inject life into the lineup is nonsense. What was your take on why that happened?
Well, I think two things. I agree with you. If you're turning to Edmundo Sosa for energy, you're in a lot of trouble. And then that's what I talked about Rob Thompson having a rough day up until the 6th inning because – you put Sosa in the game, and he makes a throwing error early in the game, and then he has a couple of horrible at-bats. And for a team that chases pitches out of the zone, the number one offender on that list for the Phillies is Edmundo Sosa. So I didn't really understand the decision. I look at it two ways. And there's no doubt Boehm has been struggling since September 1st. He has been in a funk. The body language is terrible. The smashing of the helmets, the throwing of the equipment is ridiculous. Were they sending him a message that they aren't going to tolerate it? Or here's what I think, too. Remember last year, after last year's playoff, Rob Thompson, stuck with his guys. He didn't pinch hit for Rojas, I think, in what it was, Game 7. And when he was asked after the playoffs, he said, I would have done some things differently. I wouldn't have been as patient as I was this year. I think Rob Thompson was kind of sending a message to the team a little bit saying, hey, guys, look, it's now or never time. We got to go here. And how do you send that message? Well, you're not benching Bryce Harper. You're not benching Trey Turner. You're not benching JT Realmuto. You're not benching Kyle Schwarber. Who's next up on the list? Alec Boehm. So you send Alec Boehm down, and you hope that message of urgency gets across to the team. Now, having said that, then they put Boehm up in the 8th inning against Budo, and I know he has tremendous numbers about Budo, and Boehm has one of the worst at-bats I've ever seen. He swings at the first pitch and pops out. So did he get the message from the benching? Apparently not, by the way his 2 at-bats were when he finally got in the game.
And I guess that's kind of what concerns me because you noted it, the smashing the helmets, throwing the bats, I don't know what word you want to use, tantrums or just these outward displays of frustration. I think it's fair to say that you don't know exactly how Alec's going to take certain things. He's not exactly the most even-keel guy. So, one of Rob's strengths and something that we all point to is his handle of the clubhouse and having having the pulse of the clubhouse. But I do wonder how Alec Boehm's going to respond to that. He's going to play tomorrow. He's going to be an integral part of their lineup in Game 3. Is Alec going to say, all right, message sent, I got it, and go out there and put together decent at-bats? Or are you losing him? Are you sending him a message saying, like, look, I don't trust you. We were in a must-win game yesterday, and you weren't part of our lineup. And you're a guy that had been hitting cleanup for the bulk of this season. It's a heck of a message to send. You wonder how he responds to it.
You get to a point of the season where the ceiling of your team with Boehm is higher than the ceiling of your team with my buddies text me all the time, like, you got to get Rojas out, you got to play Clemens, you got to get this guy out, you got to play. I said, listen, your problem's not Rojas and Clemens. You need your stars to hit, and Boehm is considered one of those guys that you need to hit, is he not?
I push back on that a little bit, just this idea that you need your stars to hit. Like, of course you do, but to me that's an oversimplification. When you have a team that's not putting together good at-bats and struggling to score runs, you need to get every advantage that you can in your lineup, every situational advantage. And, I think that that's the thing that they did wrong last year. If our guys hit, then it doesn't matter that Johan Rojas doesn't. It doesn't. To me, you have to get every incremental advantage you can in a series that is so tightly played like this one. So if you do believe that Edmundo Sosa gives you 1% better than Alec Boehm, if that's what you truly believe, then you have to do it.
Ironically, Rojas had the only hit when he got pulled from the game. Mike Mcgarry, are you playing Sosa against a lefty tomorrow at second or Stott staying in?
You know what? Stott had a big hit last night. Now, today up in New York, I know, looking at the transcript of what was said, Rob Thompson was asked that, and he didn't commit to Stott or Marsh in the lineup tomorrow against the lefties. And I guess the Mets throwing a lefty on Wednesday also. So, I was just so unimpressed by the way that Sosa played yesterday, and Stott gets that big triple down the line. I would be tempted to try to play Stott in there and maybe say, hey, maybe he has figured something out, or, maybe he's headed in the right direction. Look, I think one of the big issues that this team is going to face after the season is going to be, the future of their younger players. You mentioned Boehm. I agree with you. Is there a chance that they lose Boehm because they bench him for a key game? And then the flip side of that is, well, if you do lose him, do you want him in the first place on your team if he's that mentally fragile? But the future of Boehm, Marsh, and Stott, especially if this team doesn't make it to a World Series or win a World Series, is going to be a huge off-season topic for them. So to me, to answer your question, look, Bryson Stott hasn't hit a fastball at the top of the zone since last season, basically. And Edwin Diaz went in the game and threw him a slider that hung right over the plate, and he pulled it down the right field line for a huge triple. To me, I like Bryson Stott. I like his defense. He showed it with a great play yesterday again. I don't like the way Sosa played yesterday, the error, the poor at-bats. To me, I'm saying to myself, hey, maybe Stott found something, capitalizing on that Diaz mistake. Maybe he's going to get hot. I'll ride the hot hand. I'll put, Stott at second base instead of Sosa.
And Marsh?
Marsh, I'm not playing against left-handed hitters. Like, Mike, you could get on the mound and throw left-handed, and you'd get Brandon Marsh out. So I'm not playing Brandon Marsh. Why do you have Austin Hayes? If Austin Hayes isn't going to play against left-handed pitchers with Brandon Marsh's record against left-handed pitchers, then Austin Hayes shouldn't be on the team. So Brandon Marsh does not play. I try to ride the hot hand with Bryson Stott at second base.
Mike Mcgarry from the Press of Atlantic City, PressOfAC.com. And, of course, Game 3 tomorrow at Citi Field. You going up to City Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yes, I will be up there tomorrow and for game 4. And I think we will all be back at Citizens Bank Park on Game 5 for Wheeler, and I guess it would be Severino on Game 5 Friday night. I think this goes back to Philadelphia for Game 5, and at that point, I think it's a baseball game. It's a ball that drops in here. It's a key hit. It's a home run there. I think this is anybody's series, and it's just going to be a classic. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt, but I thought yesterday's baseball game was one of the best baseball games I've seen in person, and one of the best, Phillies playoff games, I've seen since, 2007. I think it's up there with the Bedlam at the Bank game. It's up there with, there's been great ones. The Holiday no-hitter, obviously. The game, they win the World Series against Tampa in '08. I thought yesterday's game, for the drama, the back and forth, was just, I thought it was a little hokey, but I thought Bryce Harper was right. Rocky would have been proud. It was like Rocky and Apollo Creed going toe-to-toe. So it was outstanding.
All right, Mike Mcgarry, he'll be there on Tuesday and Wednesday. You can listen to both of those games, and if there's a Game 5, right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Mike, we'll talk to you Wednesday, man.
All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the day. We'll see you later.